Hey everybody, it's me, Jack Wallen, here again. And I have two things I want to talk about today. The first is an opportunity to make fun of myself because I feel like if I can't make fun of myself, I have no right to make fun of anybody else, and I really don't make fun of other people, but I do make a habit of making fun of myself. So you might have noticed over the past month or so that I have changed my hair. For decades, I wore my hair spiky. And I should preface this by saying that at one point in my life, I was a hairstylist. I still have my cosmetology license. I just don't practice anymore. I'm not in a salon. I haven't done it for a long time. So a few weeks ago, I was drying my hair, and I dried it in a different way. I had the hair dryer, and I went from the back, and I went woo, and smooth it all forward. I was just playing around, and I thought, oh, hey, there's something going on there. And I used my flat iron and some product and blah blah blah, and then I came up with pretty much what you see here. Although it's pretty long right now, I need to get my wife to cut it. But it's like the cobbler and his children's shoes. My wife she's like, I don't want to do hair on my day off. So it's like, okay, well, can I get an appointment? Anyway, so here's what happened. So the first day I did it, now I'm going to have some trouble here because I'm a little bit never mind. I'm not going to. I have trouble remembering which side is which. Anyway, so the first day I did it, it was kind of like this, right? So I had the messy side over here, and then the bang swooping down this way, and it looked fine. And then I don't know what happened. I really do not have the slightest idea what happened, but for some reason I started making it spiky and messy on the wrong side. And I didn't realize it, but I don't look at myself in the mirror very often because, meh. But every once, when I'm getting ready to do a video, I have to go, okay, will hair look okay? Do I have any stuff on my shirt, whatever? I cut myself shaving, which I do all the time. And so I kept looking at my face going, something's wrong here, something's wrong here. And I would be editing a video. I was like, wow, what's going on? And I thought, okay. So I went back and I looked at one of the videos I did, the video that I did the day after I styled my hair in a different way. And I realized, oh my gosh, I have been standing up and messing up the wrong side of my hair, and it's out of balance. It's all over on the one side. And so I finally said, okay, I know what I'm doing wrong now. Let's fix it. And voila, okay, there we go. So, sometimes things just slip by us and we look like a fool. And it's not very hard for me to look like a fool. Anyway, okay. On to our main subject. So, you might have remembered a couple months ago, I think, I talked about the abacab writing method, which is something I borrowed from music. The name coming from the Genesis song Abacab, which they named the song after the formula of the song. There's A section, B section, A section, C section, A section, D section. That is a musical form. That's a way to write music. Different sections, you combine them in that method. I talked about that, and I got a lot of feedback from it, a lot of really positive feedback from it. A lot of writers say, hey, this is great, it helps me. At the same time, there were some people that it was a little bit too much for them. And so recently I've been thinking, okay, I need to figure out a way. I need to come up with a method of writing that is similar to the abacab method because it's what I use and it works great for me. But it's easier to understand for especially new writers, young writers. So I have been reading a biography of Mozart, who is one of my favorite composers. He and Beethoven, just there. I mean, doesn't get any better than that. And in the biography, the biographer starts talking about in Mozart's early years. I'm talking 5, 6, 7, 8 years old. he was he was writing in the sonata form. His father, Leopold, had taught him the sonata form. And as soon as I read that passage, something clicked. Now, way back in undergraduate school, for one semester, it was either one semester or 1 year, I was a music minor. And then I realized that my theater studies were taking up all of my time, and I didn't have any time to study or practice for my music minor, so I had to drop it. But it was enough for me for a lot of things to stick. And so I remembered, sonata form. There's something to that. I think I might be able to use that as a way to explain how easy it is to write a book to younger, new writers. So what is sonata form? Well, sonata form is in 3 parts. There's the exposition, the development, and the recapitulation. Let's talk about that in terms of writing. So we're going to start with the exposition. Exposition is fairly straightforward. The name in and of itself explains what it is. It's the exposition. It's where you introduce everything. You introduce the characters, the world, your writing style, the plot. So all of that stuff. And all of that stuff in the exposition leads to the inciting incident. So you have the beginning, exposition, inciting incident. What is the inciting incident? That's an important thing. The inciting incident is the incident that happens in which if the inciting incident doesn't happen, the rest of the story can't continue. The inciting incident is the thing that incites all of the story to move forward. It is like if you're writing a thriller, if you're writing a crime thriller, the inciting incident could be the discovery of the first kill. Because once they discover that, everything else moves forward. It is the event that launches the entire story. Without that event, the story cannot happen. So, let's talk a little bit more about the exposition. Now, in the exposition, in terms of music, the exposition modulates. Think of modulation as a key change. Now, that's the music term. In terms of writing, a modulation could be an introduction to another character. It could be an introduction to another plot line, or not a plot device. It could be an introduction to a plot twist. So there's all of these different modulations that happen in the exposition that build up to the inciting incident. Now, once the inciting incident happens, we are all of a sudden in the development section. Now, in the exposition section, we've introduced all of these themes and modulations. In the development section, we build on them. We develop those themes and modulations. And it is the development. You can think of the development section in terms of the Abacab method, where you will introduce a set, you will develop something that you've introduced, and then you will maybe add something new, develop that, but then you'll return to something you introduced in the exposition, and it's kind of like a back and forth. But the way I like to think of the development section is a roller coaster. It's a roller coaster ride from the inciting incident to the climax. And you don't want that roller coaster to just go, you don't want it to be a smooth climb. You want it to be a nice climb and dip and climb and dip. All these ups and downs, but it all keeps building up and up and up and up and up. And each one of those rise and falls is a modulation. And those modulations, you could still be introducing new characters, new themes, but all of those characters' themes need to be related to the exposition. Don't just throw something in. You don't want to throw a left turn into your story that has nothing to do with anything. Don't throw a plot twist in just to throw people off. I mean, you can, but if you do, you have to develop it. You can't. It's like I can't remember who. I can't remember the writer who actually first mentioned this. It's the idea of the gun. You can't have a gun in a scene and or mention a gun and never use it in the story. If in the development section you introduce a new theme or modulation and you forget about it, your audience is going to call you on it. They're going to say it's a plot hole, or it's just something that fell off. And remember that readers want resolution. They want to know that when you introduce this modulation in the development section, that it's going to come back again. But remember, you can introduce a modulation or theme, and you could continue to develop it in the development section. You don't have to introduce everything in the exposition, because then all of a sudden the exposition gets really heavy and thick. You can introduce new things in the development and develop them as they go along. Okay? So you have the exposition starts at the beginning, ends at the inciting incident. The development section starts at the inciting incident, builds up to and ends at the climax. And then we have the recapitulation. The recapitulation is the denouement. It's the resolution. But at the same time, it's the resolution that calls back, recapitulates back to themes in the development section and the exposition section. Because obviously, you don't want to hit that climax, start with the denouement, and then introduce other things. Here's a great example. So I'm writing the final book in the Violent Delights series. I'm going to give a little bit away here. But if you've been reading the series, you know this is happening. So, at the end of the 5th book, I'm hesitant to bring this. I'm hesitant to mention this because it does give something away. Who cares? So at the end of the 5th book, there's talk of marriage. Marriage between the main characters. And it's brought up during the exposition of the 6th book. So, I knew going into this book what the recapitulation of the story was going to be. The recapitulation of this story is the wedding of Anton Frank and Jean Barber. So, everything leads up to it. And I mean, what better resolution could there be in a erotic thriller, romance thriller series than a marriage, a wedding? And of course, now this is important. This is really important. Even though I know what's happened, that the wedding is going to happen in the recapitulation section, I still have to call back to themes and modulations from the exposition and the development section. Because if I don't, it's going to feel like a completely different book. It's going to feel like all of a sudden it's like, wait a minute, why is this here? I've got to call back to the themes and modulations that I've introduced prior to that. I could even, because this is the end of a series, in the recapitulation of this book, I could call back to themes and modulations from other books in the series if I wanted to. I'm not going to, because everything in this series has been building up to this one thing. So remember, if the abacab method is a little daunting, think about sonata form, because it's just 3 sections. And if you understand how those 3 sections work, you could write a full-length novel like that. Remember, beginning to inciting incident is the 1st section, exposition. Inciting incident to climax is the 2nd section, the development section. Climax to the end, recapitulation. I believe that the sonata form is a great way to introduce yourself into an effective writing method. And once you get this down, once you understand sonata form as it applies to writing, go back and attempt the abacab method. And remember, these two methods go hand in hand. Because literally, you can write in sonata form. In music, you can write in sonata form using the abacab method. And each section, the exposition, the development, and the recapitulation, each of those sections could be written with the abacab method. So they build on each other. So you could start by learning sonata form, then you could apply the abacab method to it. Then all of a sudden you can really write a complex novel, but write it very efficiently and effectively. Isn't that awesome? Isn't that just freaking cool? Doesn't it make you want to just put aside everything you got to do today and start writing? But then everything makes me want to do that, because I pretty much live every minute of every day thinking I should be writing. And I honestly think that most writers, whether their fingers are on a keyboard or not, they are writing. I'm always thinking about, like last night we were watching something on television and a plot came to mind. And I had to keep, as we were watching this, I kept mulling this plot over and over and over again. And as soon as I got to my laptop, I made some notes about that plot. But as we were watching television, I couldn't let go of that plot. So I think I missed half of what we were watching because I was focused on developing this plot in my head. And then I have to step back a few feet from that plot and go, okay, what was it that inspired that plot? Is this plot that I've developed too close to whatever we were watching? Because sometimes you never know. Anyway, that's all I've got today. Hopefully I kept this one a little shorter than normal, because they've been drifting longer and longer and longer. But that's just my way. I just blather on. But that's what happens when you work at home all day and your spouse is gone, or your significant other is gone, or your family's gone all day, and all you get to do is talk to cats. So I tend to blather on. Anyway, thank you so very much for being a part of this journey with me. It means the world to me that you would spend a little bit of your precious time here watching me and watching this face and this messed up hair blather on. Thank you. Now, I want to ask you just one little thing, and that is to commit a random act of kindness today, an anonymous random act of kindness. Just do something good for somebody. Don't tell them that you did it. Don't tell anybody that you did it. Just do it. And just do it because it's the right thing to do. Anyway, I hope that you and everyone you love have a wonderful, wonderful day.